It's up to them to determine the right way to do the search and production. And I agree with that as a principle, but I wanted it refined, and I wrote about this, such that there was a duty to use the latest technology, particularly when you're using proportionality, and that you could hide behind old technologies just because it's my choice, and proportionality not to really do a good job if you wanted to hide. I mean, if you want to hide information, you think you got bad data, don't use predictive coding. You don't want to use your tool. Yeah. Your tool is for somebody that wants to find what really happened quickly and inexpensively. There are companies that don't want that, like Uber, for instance.
Right.
Exactly.
Sure.
Qualcomm before them.
Right. Well, and to me, one of the things I thought was interesting about that case, because I mean, with Hiles, with Judge Peck, and cases like that, where they've said they've and even Judge Parker in Winfield, pointed to Sedona Principle 6. But that case, I kind of thought maybe was a little bit different because you had probably two equally weighted parties, whereas a lot of times you don't. You have one that's the predominant producing party. So when you kind of probably have to make a decision that they both agree on an approach because they are kind of both producing an equal amount. So any thought about how that, those types of cases may have an impact or it may be treated differently?
Well, what's driving the filter is I don't think it's an attempt to hide evidence. That's a rare thing. It happens, and you got to look out for it. It's an attempt to save money.
Right.
They're being charged so much, and there's an add-on for doing predictive coding, and then there's an add-on for the hosting more data, and it's also expensive. That's why they're doing it, right? They just don't want to spend as much on hosting. They want to cull out as much as possible, and they have experts that aren't really that expert that have told them to do that. And there's keyword filtering, and then there's keyword filtering. It's done smart or not. If you're just using lawyers guessing what the right keyword filters are, that's not smart. Right. Lawyers aren't that smart. Nobody is. Nope. Nobody can just guess. If they're doing an iterative process, so like the protocol in my firm is if you feel like you really have to do a keyword limitation because of the cost involved, maybe a small case. We handle a lot of small cases. At least put in one custodian without any filter. Test your keywords.
Absolutely.
Do an iterative process with one custodian. Then, when you've got that, it's defensible, prove it, then you can keyword filter and bring in the others, the 4 other custodians with that tested set. That's the right way to do it.
And it's typically so early that you don't yet know exactly what you're looking for or how to describe it even at that point.
Right.
Well, it has to be
the guessing. But, but if you do one custodian, and this isn't something I recommend, but if you have to do keyword filter, that's how I would do it.
Well, and to me, having searched databases for over 20 years, it doesn't take much effort to find out that you got a wrong term, that you got a term that's completely off.
The signature line,
right? Exactly. It's not like, to me, figuring out where you've got a term that's just completely off base. It just takes reviewing a handful of documents once you've done this research, and so even doing that would be at least a step in the right direction.
Right.
And that's, obviously when you get to the end result, you want to be doing the full, sampling, testing, whatnut, and really kind of assessing it at the end. But it doesn't take much time. Hey, Craig. So, how are you? I think you might know this guy.
I see you. First time I've run into you.
If I knew you.
I knew you.
Don't mean to interrupt. Sorry. Craig, how you doing, sir? Nice to see you.
Oddly enough, we're talking about searching a car with Ralph.
How are you, sir?
So nice to meet you.
We'll pull up another chair. Craig.
Come up here and enjoy. We're just
feel
socializing here. We're having a good time, to be honest with you.
The discovery.
I know you.
We're going to revolutionize the world right here in this meeting.
Good luck with that. Could use a little revolutionizing.
So, I guess one of the things two things I guess I wanted to kind of find out from you is that how we've described where we are in the process. Any advice for us as a e-discovery provider looking to add that capability and improve it, that you would provide to us that we can keep in mind as we're developing that capability in our product?
No pressure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll come back to the original question I don't think I got an answer to, and that is, your platform going to hook to relativity? Is it going to hook onto others, or what?
Well,
it actually, we've got a connector to relativity today. And to Doug's point, the even deeper question is from a pure technologist and market sizing perspective, is there's an in the cloud capability and an on-premise capability. And how do you see that through the lens of technology-assisted review? Or does that factor into your choices, and then understanding that from a corporate and government perspective,
Great
well
question.
over 50% still seem to have an aversion for anything in the cloud?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is there a bias there?
Sort of buy. I mean, I think a law firm is idiotic to keep it on premises. Even highly secret stuff. I mean, we're doing stuff, grand jury, DOJ, and we're very secure in how we do the cloud. There's nothing that's not encrypted, and if they're going to intercept it, they're only going to intercept a document at a time, and even then it'll be encrypted. Whereas I don't think that my firm, bless their heart, they're a terrific law firm and terrific lawyers. They're not really invested with the infrastructure to be protecting terabytes of confidential data from possible cybersecurity threats. Whereas I want my vendor to have a staff of experts. I want them to have the PhDs that know what to do. And I want 24/7 monitoring, not just physical, but attack monitoring. I want them to know that they have 10,000 attacks a day. And so, my firm is good at protecting our email, but nobody cares about our email. We don't do mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
What they would care about, if they could get access to it, are the vast amounts of data that we're reviewing for discovery. But I will not keep that in my system. Now, I'm a minority view, but I think eventually people will wake up to reason when they have more and more data breaches. Like Craig Adams is spending all his time doing data breach remediation now for companies. I mean, it's exploding. And he was smart to get out of e-discovery. There's a lot more work and development in data breach. And so, no, I don't want. On the other hand, corporations feel a little bit differently, and I get it, where they don't even want their data off site. And they've already spent a lot of money. They think they're good at protecting it. I question that, but are they as good as a data specialist?
Right.
Just because they're Fortune 500 doesn't necessarily mean they're really all that smart on these sort of things. Some of them are, and they're the ones that I think are going to be more hanging on to the Clearwell solutions. Clearwell still has hundreds of solutions out there, still going fine.
Sure.
That's in-house. Same thing with Excel. I was surprised to hear that. There's some guy in Orlando. That's all he does. He's still a Clearwell employee. Clearwell is now owned by the same group that owns Kroll, which is so Clearwell and Kroll are actually together, although they don't even know it. I had to tell them.
Right?
Yeah, it's Carlisle Group.
Right.
Yeah. So for the corporations, they're still going to want that. I don't think they're going to want to trust it to the cloud. Some of them.
Right.
And so you might want to have that alternative to them. If you're buying, I don't know, the government doesn't have any money to buy anything. They're apparently quite happy to do linear review anyway.
That's excellent feedback. Thanks.
Yes, I appreciate that.
What I miss is the days when Legal Tech would have Ralph Losey v. Craig Ball in our great debates.
I feel it's like trouncing me publicly.
No. I would usually get trounced. I mean, then we used to disagree with stuff. Now, we're both old and gray, and we just, I agree with that, Craig. Yeah, whatever. No, but he'll still come out with some outrageous, but nobody wants to pay us.
There you go. Right. There you go. Anything else, with the idea that part of this would be thought leader, anything else you want to share with our audience that you want them to know about what you're doing?
So we probably shouldn't say relativity sucks, okay? Let's say share with the audience.
But it does.
I know. We all agree with that. Yeah, we all agree with that.
Relativity is DT search. I mean, talk about the squirrel in the little wheel inside. Come on.
Do you know how bad Foley is kicking themselves?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just something Foley commissioned to have set up for them back in the day, and they Should have kept ownership rights.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Right. No doubt.
But okay, any sum up for the readership? I don't know. What haven't I already talked about? You got Craig Ball here ready to talk. Well, I mean, we've gone over
Yeah.
some subtle points.
Mm-hmm.
I